I'm Vishen Lakiani, the founder of Mindvalley, and welcome to our special masterclass today on how to develop a powerful immune system so that you stay healthy, younger, and feeling great for the rest of your life. Now, contrary to popular belief, your immune system isn't something that you are blessed with. It is something that you can actually nurture, you can improve, you can make better over time with the right habits, with the right practices, with the right knowledge. But many people don't have this knowledge. Now, I founded Mindvalley with the intention of bringing to you the most powerful ideas, the most powerful wisdom, the most powerful transformational knowledge that can help humanity lead a better life, specifically knowledge that isn't covered in our modern education system. And the idea that your body's defense system, your immunity, is something that you can gain mastery over is one of the most powerful bits of wisdom that you can incorporate into your day-to-day living. So when I became a father for the second time, I remember my daughter Eve was born in 2013. And when Eve started going to kindergarten, I noticed something. She was 3 years old and she would come and cuddle with me in bed. She would wake up in the middle of the night and then she would come up to bed and cuddle with me and her mom. And I would frequently wake up the next morning with sniffles. So what was going on is that kids, when they go out into the world, especially in kindergarten, they pick up all of these different germs. Eve would never get sick because babies are often born with really solid immune systems. We tend to mess it up. But Eve would bring that stuff back to me and I would be the one falling sick. She would cuddle, put her sweet little face next to mine, and then sneeze in my face. Now, I accepted that as part of life. I accepted that at least once every 2 months, I would come down with the common cold. I accepted that there would be days every few months when I just would feel off and I wouldn't be able to go to work and I'd work from home. I accepted that all of that was a normal part of life until I met a man called Eric Edmeades. Now, it started in 2016. Eric had introduced me to a whole new way of eating called WildFit. Not only did WildFit transform my body, I went from 22% body fat to 14% body fat, which is considered excellent for a male over 40. But the side effect was interesting. My skin stopped breaking out. My hair stopped falling. I was actually going through a hair loss period. And one of the most interesting things is my immunity became incredibly strong. I cannot remember the last time I had a cold. I cannot remember the last time I couldn't go to work because I was feeling ill. And it all had to do with the ideas from this man, Eric Edmeades. So what we're going to do in this masterclass is give you a dose of Eric's wisdom. And I promise you that if you stay till the end, your life will never be the same again. Because Eric has a unique way of teaching. You see, regular teachers will hit you with facts, with data, with ideas, and that's important. But studies show that you're going to forget 80% of them within 24 hours. Eric doesn't play that game. Eric is a master of human transformation. Like his results show when you get on a WildFit program, after 90 days, your life changes. Diets you will discover are often useless. WildFit transforms your body because Eric shifts your belief system. He shifts your habits. He changes the way you show up in the world and the way you see yourself, and you will never be the same again. Your body literally transforms and you stay at that level often for life. And today, Eric's ideas are going to transform your health and your immunity. In short, if you stay till the end of this masterclass, you will leave with a completely different set of beliefs, understanding, and habits towards health. And this will be irreversible. True transformation, according to the University of Toronto, is when you shift so much that you create an irreversible change in the way you show up in the world. And that's what Eric is a pioneer at. Why is this topic relevant now? Well, if there's one thing the pandemic taught us, it's that your immune system matters. And if you are taking good care of your immune system, and if you have the right behaviors in place, this could be the difference between life or death, between being healthy or being seriously ill. We need to learn this. So about our guest today, Eric Edmeades is the creator of the WildFit program. WildFit is the most effective weight loss, body transformation, health transformation program I've ever come across. It changed my life in 2016. I remember introducing it to 100 people in my company. 100 of my employees got on WildFit. One lost 51 pounds, one lost 52 pounds. Their lives were changed completely, and many more went from body fat over 20% to body fat where they could finally wear proper fitting t-shirts again. It was so transformative, I then brought it to my family. And when my mom and dad saw their lives transformed and their health improved because they were in their 70s, I decided to work with Eric and bring his WildFit methodologies, including this program, onto our greater Mindvalley audience. And this is where we are today. Now, why Eric? Eric's work is so profound. He recently received a medal from the Canadian Senate for his services to health transformation. And his background is so intriguing. So Eric is an entrepreneur who ran many successful companies, including one that provided medical simulation technologies for the US government. But beyond that, he's an adventurer. Eric has spent many months of his life with the Hadza Bushmen of Africa, hunting in the bush. And that was where his interest in human biology and the human diet emerged. He trained himself to be able to do some fairly remarkable things with his body. For example, Eric has hiked Mount Kilimanjaro while in a completely fasted state, hiking this incredible mountain over 3 days with no food. He's been able to do these incredible feats with his body because of his understanding of how the human body works. But beyond that, there are many experts in biology, many experts in health. What makes Eric unique is that Eric is a master teacher. His methods of teaching have made Tony Robbins put him on stage at Tony Robbins' huge events because Eric knows how to transform an audience. His methods of teaching have allowed him to develop some of the foremost programs in the world in a wide variety of different fields, from business building to public speaking to health transformation. If you go to stories.mindvalley.com and look up Eric's profile, you'll see hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of stories from just Mindvalley students all around the world on how this man has completely, utterly transformed their health for good. Eric's ability to train his body to heal and protect himself is just legendary. Once, while hunting with the Hadza Bushmen, he got appendicitis. Now, firstly, you ought to know that if you're a 50-year-old male, to get appendicitis in your 50s is already unusual because most people have this flare up at a much younger age. Eric had appendicitis in his 50s while in the bush. He had surgery done. Doctors told him he had to lie in a hospital for several days to recover. That wasn't Eric's style. He got up the next day, went hunting with the Hadza Bushmen. Now, all of this is because this man understands how to get the body to truly be your protector and how to get the body to bounce back quickly. This is the man you're going to be learning from today. Okay, so I want you to know this. In this masterclass, Eric is going to give you his best. I'm going to give you my best. And all we ask is that you turn off any distraction, forget WhatsApp or Instagram, put down your phone, have some sort of note-taking device ready, maybe a journal, maybe your computer screen, and take down notes. And as you're going through this masterclass, commit to take action. There was a famous study done on health. They took two groups of people and they asked one group to do 10 minutes of exercise for 10 days straight. And the second group did the same, 10 minutes of exercise for 10 days straight. But in the second group, they did a little twist. They made everyone make a commitment. And the commitment simply went like this. They had to write down on a piece of paper, I commit to exercising for 10 minutes every day for the next 10 days because I know this is great for my body and I want this. Something like that. What they found is that in the second group, people were 10 times more likely to exercise every single day. Now, this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to ask you to write down on a piece of paper, or if you don't have a piece of paper, put your hand on your heart and repeat the following commitment statement with me. The commitment statement is this: I commit to learning about immunity, taking the right action to serve my body so that my body protects me, heals rapidly, and keeps me looking and feeling great forever. That's it. And now, let's bring on set the man of the hour, Eric Edmeades. So Eric, welcome to Mindvalley.
Thanks for having me. Always happy to be here.
And it's so funny. Many of the people watching don't know this, but the reason we created this masterclass, the reason we're creating a new immunity program with you, is because when the COVID pandemic first started, you were one of those people who, for lack of a better word, were hysterical.
Yeah, that's what it was like. In the early weeks, the hysterical people were shouting and everybody's like, take it easy.
Exactly. And I was one of the people who was saying, take it easy. I'm not going to cancel any of the events. But you could predict. You saw what was happening. You saw what was going to happen. And you released a series of videos on Instagram that went viral. And you recommended certain strategies in these videos. The government was not talking about it. The press, doctors were not talking about it until 6 to 8 months later, when all the things you said in the video, suddenly Anthony Fauci was mentioning it. Suddenly, the press was talking about it. You had that level of prescience. So what made you make that video?
You know, Vishen, honestly, I didn't want to make the video. Like, I knew that I was feeling a little hysterical. I didn't know if maybe I was overreacting. But the one thing I kept seeing is it didn't matter which government organization or which agency or which expert was talking about it. All they spoke about was the external defenses. All they talked about was things like masks or social distancing and washing your hands, don't touch your face. And all that stuff might be appropriate, but I couldn't understand how all these people with all this training, not one of them was talking about nutrition, fresh air, sunlight, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc. Nobody was talking about that stuff. And it just irritated me enough one day that I took out a camera and recorded a video.
Right. No one was saying, put down the Coca-Cola, put down that bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Like, be careful about the American diet.
Yeah, and then of course the crazy bit is I put the video out and mostly it's incredibly well received and people are like, that's a great idea. I wasn't thinking that way. Because you know, a lot of people thought the lockdown was going to be like 2 weeks. So what did they do? They went to the grocery store and bought the pizza and the ice cream. It's 2 weeks of holiday. And then people started seeing that video and mostly it was incredibly well received. But the joke is that there were a bunch of experts, you know, with people with letters behind their names that would write to me and tell me stuff like, you can't strengthen your immunity, you don't understand immune systems and all this kind of stuff. And of course, over the months that followed, the video was vindicated, but it was really interesting to see people attacking that idea early on.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you spoke up. I'm so glad you got that video out. I remember sharing that video with my friends, and it helped them realize what they needed to shift to start taking their immunity seriously.
And you know, over the last couple of months, on top of this sort of, call it vindication of all the data that came out first from China and Italy and all that kind of stuff, the other thing on a more anecdotal personal note is on many of our live membership calls, speaking to WildFit clients, we talked to many of our clients that did end up testing positive for COVID, were completely asymptomatic or had incredibly light symptoms. And so that's one of the issues here is that people often think of immunity as like, if you have immunity, you won't get the disease. That is a certain kind of immunity, but what we're really talking about is having a strong innate immune system so that even if you do get a disease, you recover from it easily. And that's a big part of the discussion here.
That is the key point. Even if you get the disease, you recover from it quickly. So I was telling the audience earlier, I couldn't remember the last time I was ill, right? And I realized I did get the sniffles, but there was a difference. When I got the sniffles, I would practice some of the things I learned from you, and it would disappear. It would go away within an hour, and I knew I could still show up for work, and it wouldn't become a full-blown cold. So thank you for making me remember that. That is interesting, and it's so relevant today.
It is. I think that as we begin to realize that we can do things that weaken our immune system, then that means that we know we can take charge and do stuff to strengthen it. I always joke, if you want to get the flu, it's really simple. Be in America, go back to school with the stress, then have Halloween and have all the parties, candy and alcohol, then jump into Thanksgiving and eating a huge amount of food and overeat, then move into the stressful Christmas season and wonder why everybody has the flu in the first week of January. Well, they've spent months suppressing their immune system.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. And by the way, I want you guys to know, I know Eric's methodologies. You do not have to give up Halloween or Christmas or Thanksgiving. I think you just freaked everyone out. It's just what you do during these periods. You will learn the right behaviors, the right things to do. Like you, for example, if you follow this guy, you will not crave candy. By the way, I still eat dark chocolate and I still drink red wine, but after learning from this man, my alcohol consumption went down 70%. My consumption of sugar went down 90%. It's truly remarkable, and I don't even have a desire for it, but I still freaking love Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas, not giving that up.
So do I.
I just shift what I do with my body.
I love them too. It's a matter of how we do them.
Right, exactly. So Eric, let's go straight into the training. Now the first myth that we want to bust is this myth. The myth that you cannot strengthen your immune system. Eric?
Yeah, this is a really pervasive myth, and I don't understand really why anybody would even want to spread that idea. Let's use basic logic to deal with it. Can you suppress your immune system? Well, yeah, you can. There's medications that suppress it. There's lifestyle things that suppress it. Stress can suppress it. Chronic illness can suppress it. Many chronic illnesses that are lifestyle created or lifestyle related, right? So if we can suppress it, then obviously the reverse of that is that by undoing some of those things, we can strengthen it. And I think that's a very important thing for us to understand. Also, another one of them comes down to this idea of you shouldn't strengthen your immune system, people tell us. You shouldn't. You wouldn't want your immune system to overreact. Well, yeah, okay, that's sort of true, except that the reason the immune system overreacts is when either it's been consistently triggered, in other words, you've been crying wolf and it kind of freaks out, or because we've been suppressing it, and so then when it gets attacked, it overreacts. A healthy, optimized immune system doesn't overreact. But let's do this. To really understand the immune system, let's break it into very simple ideas here. In a sense, you have two immune systems. One is your innate immune system. So it's kind of like your body's defense system. So, and it's not just about disease, it's also about injury. Do you know if you are like about to fall, have you ever had that tingling feeling? That's your immune system going, uh-oh, we might bleed. And in that moment, funny things happen, including your blood thickening, because it's preparing for you to maybe get cut. So your innate immune system is a defense system. It's like a shield. It's a whole defense mechanism that isn't just about disease. Then you have the acquired immune system. And the acquired immune system is your body encounters a virus and your body defeats that virus and learns how to create the antibodies for that virus and then maintains the memory or the blueprint of those antibodies. So in theory, you now have immunity against that same virus in the future. So when people say you can't boost your immunity, in a weird way, they're strictly correct. Immunity is you either have it or you don't. It's like pregnancy. You are immune to chickenpox or you are not. But whether you are or not isn't really the issue. Let's imagine this metaphor. We've watched courtroom dramas, right? So you're watching a courtroom drama, and what happens? Somebody gets immunity from prosecution. Now what that means is they can't be prosecuted. This is like somebody who's had chickenpox. They can't get chickenpox. But somebody who doesn't have immunity from prosecution needs a really good defense team. And my argument would be that defense team should be healthy, should be getting a lot of fresh air, should be eating well, and that team will be stronger, smarter, and faster to be able to defend you. And I think that's the way we should be looking at the immune system.
Amazing. So there is the innate immune system and then the acquired immune system. Now, the third myth is this. Some people watching may be thinking, I already know nutrition, I already know exercise, I'm already healthy. I don't need this.
Yeah, again, this is a little bit like the population comparison thing, and it's also down to confusion. Like, okay, here's a crazy thing. Did you ever play that game Risk as a kid?
Yeah.
You know the one you move the colored pieces around and try to take
Right.
over? Well, the food industry's been playing Risk with your plate. That's what the food industry is doing, right? The wheat people are trying to get their percentage of the plate, and the sugar people are moving their army over here and they're doing this constantly. So what did the sugar industry do? When they started to have their part of the plate threatened by science that suggested that sugar was bad for immunity and bad for heart disease and so forth, they first of all tried to commission all the science that said sugar's really good. And then they thought, you know what? We could actually take more of the plate. And then they commissioned further science to blame fat. And they created the whole low-fat industry by villainizing fat, when fat is one of the healthiest things you could possibly eat, the right kinds. And so this battle has been going on, risk for the plate, which has been putting us at a huge amount of risk. But equally, what that now means is a whole lot of people think they know something because they read a headline or they read some study, but they didn't know that the study was commissioned by a food industry representative. And that's a big issue.
Exactly.
One of my favorite...
Now, I just want to show, here's some evidence of this. These are actual Google searches on the negative effects of sugar, and you will see actual studies on reputable science websites saying that no harmful effects with sugar. Scroll all the way to the bottom, where by law, the study has to state who is funding it, and look at the names.
Yes, one of the most famous cases of that is specifically the sugar industry, just like we've shown. They commissioned the study and they put it in the New England Journal of Medicine. But back then, the law did not require that disclosure. So this study got published in the Bible of medicine and nobody knew the sugar industry paid for it. And so it became lore. Today, we at least can find the fine print. Back then, the fine print wasn't there. The other thing that we've seen is we've had a number of doctors, medical professionals, and nutritionists come through our trainings. One of them came to me after not even in a training to become a coach with us, just as a client. And she'd been 3.5 years in a 4-year degree program on nutrition. And she came to me and she said, I thought I knew everything about nutrition. And she goes, I'm dropping out of my degree program. I said, why are you dropping out? She goes, because I'm learning useless information. It's wrong. And I said, right. But in our culture, the piece of paper you will get at the end of the 4 years is more valuable than the information itself. So stay in your program, complete the degree, and then go teach them the stuff you've learned from us. And that's exactly what she did.
I love that response. Okay, so if you've been tuning in so far, you know that there's hope. There are remarkable, specific things you can do to boost your immune system. Now, in Eric's full program in Mindvalley, he goes deep into a complete transformation, a complete immunity makeover in 4 weeks. Here, in this free masterclass, we won't have time to go into every advanced strategy, but you are going to learn some really powerful things that you can apply immediately. Now, many of you are going to enroll in the full program, and that's fantastic. We cannot wait to see you join this Mindvalley quest. But more on that later. For now, have your notebook and journal ready and prepare to take down some really powerful key ideas. So these masterclasses are designed to do 2 things. The first is to give you new perspectives, beliefs, paradigm shifts to understand the world. And this is what we just did in part 1. We spoke about the myths on immunity. We spoke about why so many people compare themselves to average populations, which, if you actually look at the data, may be quite sickly and not truly healthy. We spoke about why we often forget to pay attention to our immunity. We specifically covered 3 myths on immunity. That there is an innate and an acquired immune system, that it's good to boost your immune system, and the third, just because you have training on nutrition and exercise doesn't mean that you're fully taking all the right actions to boost your immune system, because Big Pharma, Big Food puts out a lot of disinformation, and you need to be able to see through it. Now, in the second part of the masterclass, what we're going to do is we're going to give you specific techniques that you can apply in your life. Eric?
So in the quest, we go into a lot of detail about, first of all, things that can trigger the immune system. So what you don't want to do is have a bunch of lifestyle things or environmental conditions that are constantly needling or triggering, like having mold in the house and so forth. And then equally, we want to make sure that we don't have a bunch of stuff that are suppressing our immune function, that are pushing it down. And a lot of times that could be something like chronic diseases that we've seen, like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and so forth. So we want to turn those things around because they're suppressing immune function. So there are 7 physical needs of the body. And what we've taken a look at is that if you meet all those needs really well, then your body operates optimally. Not unlike you and me wanting to do a long trip in a car. First, make sure it's got gas, tires are up, brake fluid is in, like take care of the car's needs. Much better chance that we get there and we have a good journey. Same with the body. Mm-hmm. So obviously we can't go into all 7 of those in great detail now. But what I want to do is go deep into 2 of them for us. And one of them is the most important. And what I mean is it's air, but not because of the oxygen that you need. It's because of the way breathing communicates to your body. Let me put it to you this way. When we have stress, you should know this. This is so important. Stress is not bad. Stress is designed to save your life. That's what it's there for. And for hundreds of thousands of years, we were living in wilderness where there was very stressful things. And what that meant was things that were threatening your existence. So you walk around a corner and you see a lion or an enemy tribe. And in that moment, your body becomes incredibly stressed. How do you breathe? Short and shallow. And then you breathe really quietly. Why? So you aren't spotted, so you aren't seen, so you can hide. Now, the reason this is important today is that our body understands how safe we are often by how we're breathing. So if you're breathing very shallow, if your breathing is only in the top of your lungs, your body, every cell in your body thinks, there's a lion or a hyena or a tribe or there's something dangerous out there. So what does your body do in response? Well, it does a few things. One, it starts producing stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, all designed to save your life for a short-term and immediate threat against your life. But then the other thing that your body does at this point is it diverts energy. At that exact moment when you need to save your life, do you think your body cares about pathogens? Do you think it cares about germs or bacteria? No, it cares about the rhino or the bear or the lion or the enemy tribe. And in that moment, your body will say, like, divert all power from the shields to the engine so we can run or we can fight or something. And so in that moment, your immune system basically gets shut off and your body goes into full-on fight, flight, or freeze. So what we want to do is reverse that. What we want to do is make sure that our bodies know that we're safe. You see, back then, here's what would happen. something horrible would happen. We'd have all this stress, breathe shallow, produce cortisol, adrenaline, fight, fight, and if we survived, well, you know what we wouldn't do? Is spend the next 5 years complaining about the fact that the thing happened. We wouldn't sit there being afraid of it the whole time. We would move on. One of the reasons we'd be able to do that is that we'd start breathing properly again. Only we live in a life now where somebody can get an email or a letter, like a visa bill or a statement from a lawyer or something that scares them, and guess what they do? They start producing adrenaline, cortisol, because they somehow want to try and save their life from a piece of paper. And then they think about that piece of paper when they go to bed. And then they think about it again when they wake up in the morning. And they keep the adrenaline and the cortisol in their body, and they continue to suppress their immune function the whole time. And incidentally, think about that during a pandemic, why don't we? Like, think about that. Don't we find that there's fear around us all the time? Doesn't it matter? It doesn't matter what news channel you're facing. Everything is about fear. It doesn't matter what social media, everything is about fear. And so constantly we're getting this adrenaline and cortisol pumping, pushing our immune function down and making us more susceptible to disease and injury and making it harder for us to recover. So weirdly, one of the best things you can do to turn that around is to breathe as though you are safe. So how do you do that? Well, our ancestors would only ever have breathed noisily when there were no threats around. Noisily, right? This is how you breathe when you first see a lion. That's it. You don't make any noise. When the lion's gone, how do you breathe? Oh, the lion's gone. And as soon as you start to breathe in a deep and powerful way, all your cells begin to relax and go, oh, the lion's gone. And then your immune system re-engages. The fight, flight, or freeze response goes away and you settle back down. So can I give everybody a feeling of what this is like?
Yeah.
Okay. So in WildFit, we have this thing called 5x5 breathing. And some of you will know it maybe as triangle or box breathing. But do it with me. Like, really do this with me. Because I'm telling you, however you're feeling right now, if there's any level of stress at all, anywhere in your life right now, we can cut it down by 10, 20, 30, maybe 50% right now. Are you ready? Here we go. The way it's going to work is we're going to breathe in for a count of 5. Then we're going to hold for a count of 5 at the top. Then we're going to do a soft exhale for 5 on the way out, all the way to the bottom. And then we're going to hold for 5 again at the bottom. Now, normally we would then say, do that 5 times. And we would ask you to do that 5 times a day. That's why it's the 5x5 breathing. But we're going to do it just once. And I want you to really check in before we do it. How do you feel right now? Really, if you think about what's going on in your life with your family and what's happening in the press and what's happening in the world, in your world right this minute, how are you feeling? And now let's do this together. You ready? Let's do it together. I'm not going to count. I'm just going to do it with my hands. Here we go. Breathing in. How do you feel? Isn't it different? You just told every cell in your body that there's no hyenas, that there's no lions, that there's nothing for you to be afraid of in that moment. And there are sometimes things for us still to be afraid of every day, and that's okay. But as long as you do this several times a day, just get yourself to breathe, either because you do a breathing exercise or you go outside and push yourself a little bit. If you do this a few times a day, every single day, you're going to tell your body that at least for a little while you're feeling safe. And that'll help your immune system to operate far, far better.
Wow. So what would be, so firstly, I feel so relaxed right now. So what is the trigger? What would make us, when do we do this?
I think of it 2 ways. I think that it's great to have routine. I think that we want to do things preemptively. There's, an ounce of prevention, a ton of cure, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to wait till I feel stressed out. I don't want to wait till some event. I want to breathe like this regularly. So I can tell you, the first thing I do in the morning when I wake up is breathe like that. First thing I do. I wake up in the morning and I breathe like that immediately. I tell my body right away, whatever I dreamt about, whatever I stressed about in my sleep, it's over, I'm safe now. So that's my first trigger. And my next one is I do the same thing when I go to bed at night, every night. Because whatever happened that day, whatever stress, and by the way, stresses are sometimes good. You go play sports, it's a good stress. But you want to then remind yourself that that's over. And then I like to do it at different times of the day. Like, it's really good to do it before you eat and after you eat. Those are good triggers. And it's also really good to do it when you are triggered by something. So a scary phone call comes in. Really, truly, these days, your phone rings and you have the great advantage of looking and knowing who it is there. A lot of millennials can't appreciate what it used to be like. We used to have to answer the phone not knowing who was there. How stressful was that? So now what do? If the phone rings and you're looking and the person there might be stressful for you, positive or negative, like exciting or scary, then what I suggest is you take a couple of those 5x5 breaths right away and then call them back, or right away and let them ring a bit and then answer. Or after the call, if the call's wound you up a little, and you know the feeling, don't you? It's that you start to feel that and you just stop and you do your 5x5 breathing. Do this for a week. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. And not only will you feel better, but secretly under the surface of it, which you won't even know except that I've now told you, your immune system will immediately be engaged for a higher percentage of the day because you're not suppressing it with your stress.
That's amazing. And so let's recap the steps. First step is you're going to breathe in, hold, breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, hold on the exhale for 5 seconds.
And then do that for 5 full reps and 5 times in a day.
See. 5 full reps, 5 times in the day, right? But I'm guessing that even if we can't keep that cycle, doing it five times in the day, if we have something trigger us, like in the case of the phone call, we can do it even just once and feel the effect. Didn't
we feel it now? We did. Exactly. We didn't even do a full 5 breaths. We did one cycle and we all felt better. Imagine what happens when we do the 5, or if we do the 5 when we wake up in the morning. You're absolutely right. It can be done as part of a routine, or it can be done in response to something.
No, you do it just once in the morning when you wake up and when you go to bed.
I do 5 sets of it in the morning. I wake up, do 5 inward breaths, 5 holding, like a full 5 cycle, and I do a full 5 cycle again at night.
How long does the full 5 cycle take?
Well, it's a count of 5, so 20 seconds for each round.
Okay, I just proved it.
About a minute.
Right.
Yeah, you're not getting a job in accounting.
So that's the first one. Now, in the full Immunity Blueprint program on Mindvalley, you cover different approaches, right? Give us an idea of some of the other things that you cover, because I know that you stack all of these techniques, and at the end of the program, the person who's going through it, hopefully you, has a completely different lifestyle where you're immune to stress and your immunity system is operating at its peak. Give us an idea of how things are laid out and how all of these stack together.
This is a really good question. So in doing the research for this, I saw that there were some doctors working on immunity programs and so forth. And I read a number of books about it to try to take a look at what the cutting edge science was talking about. But what I found is that even in a couple of them that were published as like 28-day programs, what they would do is say, do all this stuff for 28 days. You know how many people are going to do that? None. I mean, a very small percentage of people will do that. Now, as you know, I'm a huge fan of behavioral change dynamics. I'm incredibly good at creating programs that people stick with and actually transform them. And so when we created this program, the idea was to take a look at each of these things that we need to cover and incrementally install them over the course of 28 days so that the habits will stick.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right that we've stacked them. The way we stack them is this. When you look at the physical needs of the body, you can rank them. They're all important. I mean, breathing is important, food is important, air is important, exercise is important, sleep is important, but you can now rank them in terms of urgency. And so one of the ways you look at that is that, well, how long can we live without food? Everybody always wants to know about food. Eric, I want to boost my immunity. Tell me about food. Like, food is like way down the list. Yes, we have to talk about food. We can talk about the foods that will suppress or trigger immune function, and we talk about foods that your body needs to be strong, and we cover those inside the quest. But food is way down the list. Like, how long can you live without food? Arguably weeks. But how long can you live without water? Days. And so we talk a lot about the way you use water to modify your hunger and also to make sure you're well hydrated. But wait a minute, how long can you live without air? Minutes. So the program starts with breathing. Then we start talking about water and the correct consumption and the correct timing of water. From water, we then talk about sleep, because sleep is imperative to the immune system. Then we talk about sunlight. What's amazing to me throughout the whole pandemic time with all this lockdown stuff is, hey, you know what we really need? We need fresh air, oxygen, sunshine, and movement. So stay inside, right? So what we want to do is support people in correcting that and making sure that they're getting those things done in a layered way.
Thank you, Eric. Now, we want to give you one more practical tool that you can put into your toolbox and bring into your life instantly. Eric?
All right, so for this next one, this is incredibly practical. It's going to offer an entirely new perspective for most people, and it's going to dispel one of the big myths of immune systems. So here's one of the things you'll see if you go out onto the interwebs and learn about the immune system. They'll tell you, exercise damages your immune system. In fact, there are mainstream media websites that have on the headlines, exercise damages your immune system. Now, this is irresponsible reporting at the least. But like all good lies, it's something built on a tiny little grain of truth. Because the truth is, certain types of exercise are damaging to the immune system. If you go to the gym and burn out your body and create tons of lactic acid and tear out all the muscles so you're so sore for the next day, guess what? Your immune system is retasked with undoing all that damage. So yes, in the strictest sense, certain types of exercise can be bad for your immune system. But physical movement is imperative to your immune system. And by the way, I'm not here to tell you need to be fit. I'm not here to tell you that you got to get your cardiovascular fitness right, that you need to work on your flexibility, and you need to build your physical strength and all that kind of stuff. Yes, all that stuff is true. I want to share with you the real reason you need to move. It's not those things. The real reason you need to move is that a key component of your immune system is your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system produces lymph. And it's this fluid that travels all around your body and it cleanses you from the inside. It washes you. When old cells die and old proteins die off and there's toxins building up, your lymphatic system is responsible for cleaning you from the inside. Now, evolution is so smart. Evolution or creation, whatever is your bag, but it's smart. And here's what I mean by that. Blood, oxygen. Incredibly important that you get oxygen around you on an urgent and important basis. So your body evolved pumps, two of them. You have a heart and you have a diaphragm. The diaphragm pumps the air in and out, and then the heart pumps the oxygen all around your body. It is something that's incredibly important for your health, and it's something that's urgent, so you have a pump. Lymphatic fluid is important, but it's not urgent. I mean, you don't need it every minute. You just need it regularly. And our ancestors lived the most active lives you can imagine just to meet their most basic survival needs. To get water, to get food, to move around. They were walking 10, 15, 20 kilometers a day, every single day. On one of my most recent visits with the Hadza people in East Africa, the chief came to me and he said, "Do you want to go hunting?" Naturally, I said yes. I carried a GPS thing with me so I could see my distance. We did 27 miles that day. That's a marathon. And the very next day, the chief comes to me and goes, "Are you ready to go again?" Because the day before we weren't so successful. I'm like, again? I didn't even train for the marathon we did yesterday. We did another 17 miles. That's what life was like for our ancestors for most of our history. And so the lymphatic system never needed to evolve a pump. The muscles are your pump. That's how you pump lymphatic fluid. You move. You stretch, you move, you compress, you contract. When you move your muscles, you flow lymphatic system around. And when you sit still, the lymph just pools and does nothing. And so it's incredibly important that you get up and move. And so let me give you some practical ideas about this. Because, look, I was in the United States in February, and I went to one of these malls to go pick something up. And there was a gym, a really good quality gym, up on the second floor of the mall. And an escalator going up to the gym. Okay, no escalators. We don't use escalators. We don't use the people mover, in airports or whatever. You don't walk on those things. Look, please, if you're going to the department store or the grocery store, give up on the Rockstar parking, please. Leave the Rockstar parking for pregnant women and families and people that need help. You go park at the other side of the parking lot. Unless you live in Minnesota or Edmonton, Alberta, you can go for the Rockstar. It's too cold. But for the rest of us, park at the back and walk in. Carry a pedometer. And by the way, when I first started teaching about this, you had to go buy a pedometer. You don't even need to buy one, you already own one. Almost every smartphone in the world comes with a pedometer. So turn it on, track your steps, and improve them a little bit every day. Move, stretch your body. Every single time you move, you are cleansing your cells. You are strengthening your immune system. You are making yourself healthy.
So Eric, let's go deeper into movement. What would be a really great way to start adopting this mindset into our life immediately?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of incremental life change, right?
Yeah.
So we don't just go, I'm gonna do 10,000 steps every day, and that just leads to 2 days of 10,000 steps and then nothing.
Right.
And so I'm a big fan of incremental. Our mutual good friend Alex Mendosian, he said this one day, and I loved it. He said, if you measure something, it tends to improve. If you measure something, it tends to improve. And so that's where I really like the idea of using the built-in step trackers that we've got in our Android and iPhones. So what we do is we turn that on, activate that feature, and then every day, and especially if you've also got the smartwatch, then it even counts the steps when you're not when you don't have the phone with you, and it just counts your steps every day. So the first stage, for the first week, I don't even suggest people try to walk more. They just measure. And you know what's crazy? Every time I tell that to people, They start measuring. Day 1, they measure. Day 2, they do a little more. Day 3,
Right.
they do a little more, not even trying. And that's how we create a lasting change. And then people get themselves up where they're doing 6, 7,000,
I know.
10,000, 12,000 steps. And they've changed their life.
I started this practice 2 years ago. And what I found is that it became like a computer game. Like every week or so, I wanted to see my high score. Now, 2 years later, I got so into it, I just gave up my car. I now use a bicycle. I literally do not own a car. I have an expensive garage, like right in the center of the city. It is empty right now. I use a bicycle, a 300 euro made in Poland bicycle, because having a bicycle just allows me to increase my score. It's incredible. I just completely changed my pattern of behavior. I got so into walking, and I've never felt better. It is so amazing just being able to walk everywhere. Now, of course, this depends on the city you're living in. So there are some caveats, but even if you live in a city or you live in a situation where you are forced to drive, in our next tip, we're going to show you how to bring more steps into your life without leaving your home.
You know, you said it's like a video game, right? The reason I think it's so powerful to start measuring it, I noticed it the first time I started doing it, and I did it before there were smartphones. I actually bought a pedometer back in the days when you didn't have one on your smartphone, and I clipped it to my belt. And what I found is that if I had a decision to make, like if I had a decision to make between an escalator stairs or even an elevator and stairs, weirdly, I easily made the decision to take the extra steps because I'd gamified it. So it's an incredibly powerful thing to start measuring.
Yeah, in behavioral design and habit building, it's called gamification. You make it into a game. The human being is wired to want to collect points. This is why computer games can be so addictive. You've literally made movement a game. Now, there's a second set of tools, of course, you can bring in where you put movement directly in your workplace. So think about it, right? We spend, 70% of our waking hours at work. And most of us are sitting down on a desk, typing on a keyboard. But what if our workspace could generate movement? Eric?
This is incredibly important. So in WildFit, we talk about physical fitness like this. Every day, you tell your muscles one of 3 things. Every single day, you tell your muscles one of 3 things. You either tell your muscles they're irrelevant and they don't matter by having a very sedentary day or working at your desk all day, or you tell your muscles that you care about them minimally and you love them and you hope they stay. And that's a day where you kind of used your muscles, but you never really stressed them out. And then you have another day where you tell your muscles, you're useless and you're not good enough and you'd better grow. And that's when you do like an intensive exercise, something like 10x. What we're talking about here is having that middle day 2, where we're reminding our muscles that we love them, that we care about them, and where we're going to stimulate the lymphatic flow. And so here's something really interesting. If you look at brain scans, of people who have been sitting at their desk for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, what you'll see is darkness. Really, the brain scan shows darkness. But if you then look at the brain scan where they've been up and moving around, it's like a light show in there, like fireworks. It's incredible. So there's 3 good reasons for us to get up and move around in the day. 1, remind our muscles we love and care about them. 2, get the lymphatic flow moving to support our immune system. And 3, let's get the brain fired up the best way. So what I do is I set my phone to remind me at least every 30 to 45 minutes to get up and move around.
I was mentioning earlier that some of you may not have the luxury. You may be living in a more rural area where you need to move around in a car. You may not have the luxury to be able to walk. So I want to share with you a really interesting hack about how to convert your workspace into a movement place. So I'm going to share with you a video that I just got from a friend of mine, Jimmy Narain. Jimmy is a student at Mindvalley. We became friends when we met at one of our events. And he's an incredible entrepreneur who's so into health. And he just sent me this video of this hack that he just put on his work desk. Check it out.
Hey Vishen, you absolutely have to get this. I have a treadmill and a standing desk, and it's unbelievable how much more energy you have. It's great for your back, great for your body in general. You gotta get it.
Now you'll notice something about Jimmy's desk, right? It's a standing desk. That's another really cool thing. So I have a standing desk. Now, in our office here in Estonia, we make sure that all our desks are adjustable. So you can bring the desk low if you want to sit, but you can raise the desk if you want to stand. So if you can afford it, you might want to invest in an adjustable desk. Or if you're working from home right now, have different working areas. Have a working area where you can sit down and a working area where you can stand. And of course, in the working area where you can stand, you can put down one of these treadmill-like devices that Jimmy mentioned. These devices are really affordable and you can get them on Amazon. There's another hack that I want to share, Eric. I just installed this one directly in my working area. We spend so much time right now on Zoom calls or Google Meet, and so you don't have to be sitting in a boardroom, and there's a huge advantage here. You can use pull-up rings to actually exercise your upper body. So these simple things change your behavior. And when objects are in your presence, they change how you show up in the world. The habit specialist, James Clear, says habits are formed through a series of steps. And one of the first steps, says Clear, is noticing. You notice something that initiates the habits. Pull-up rings, a treadmill, all of these are acts of noticing. You can even, if you want to get into the Mindvalley habit, take the Mindvalley app, bring it to the front screen of your iPhone. If you want to make sure that you are walking more, take the Apple or the Google Health app, bring that to the front screen. All of these are acts of noticing, and they will help you bring these habits into your life sooner.
Let me add to that about noticing because it's so good. One of the most fundamental driving forces in human motivation is progress. And so one of the things that we really suggest that everybody do is notice their progress. So for example, if you do put some rings in or you're tracking your steps, really notice your progress and notice the benefits that it's giving you. The more you focus on that, the more you'll just want to keep doing it every day. I'm going to give you the craziest example. I have an adjustable work desk. It's an electric button, zip, zip, up and down. And sometimes when I'm doing coaching calls, if I've been working all day, or sometimes if I've been out kiteboarding and I'm wearing wet shorts and I'm wearing a dress shirt on top, but the camera's only here, so it's okay. What happens is I either choose to be standing up or sitting down. And one day I got some feedback from my team. My energy on the coaching calls, on live performances, on podcast interviews is far better when I'm standing up. Far better when I'm standing up. And so what does that tell me? It tells me I'm generating more energy, my brain is firing, and of course I know I'm pumping more lymphatic fluid, and I'm reminding my muscles that I love them. We gotta move.
Amazing. I love that. I'm going to have to try that on my live calls. That's a really good tip. Okay, so let's do a quick recap over here in terms of movement. Number one, try to build a habit of walking. And there are a number of ways you can bring movement like walking into your life. The first way is through using the tools that are already in your smartphone. The second way is through Eric's exercise ritual. Eric, do you want to quickly recap that?
So in my case, it's a matter of standing up. I like to just bounce out my body. There's lots of different yoga practices where you just bounce out all that feeling in your body. And then I go through a series of side stretches on each side, back stretches to really open up my back and chest and so forth, and then leaning forward stretches. And I just like to do that several times through the day. It wakes up all my joints, keeps my blood flowing, keeps my creativity flowing.
And the third thing is optimize your workspace area to allow movements from rings that let you pull yourself up to treadmills that let you walk as you're working, ideally on a standing desk. So I hope you enjoyed these tips. This is what we've covered so far. We covered the myths on immunity. We spoke about the importance of breath. We spoke about the importance of movement. But all of this is just the beginning. In Eric's program on Mindvalley, you're going to notice the science of transformation applied to you. All you got to do is just tune in for a few minutes every day. And at the end of 4 weeks, your health is transformed because we've transformed your habits and your mindset in the most interesting ways. I want to share with you a really fascinating case study. So firstly, this is my physiological change after I got on Eric's WildFit program. Because the way Eric teaches is to create these transformations bit by bit, day by day. You almost don't even notice them, but at the end, you're a different person. This is my physical change for my body. This is the physical change for my face. Notice the change on my face. But now let me show you what happened next. I told you I put over 100 people in my company on WildFit. And this is some recent data we got from an insurance company. So in any company, you provide health insurance for your employees. So I do that for my employees. And our insurance company gave us an award for being the healthiest employer in the entire city. The healthiest employer. So that's my human resources team on stage winning the award. But let me show you some interesting data. So I'm zooming in now on the screen into the report I just got recently from AIA, which is an insurance company, for Malaysia's healthiest workspace. We employ some 250 people in Malaysia. Now, when you look at Mindvalley results, there are a couple of things really interesting. Now, one interesting thing is, in the average company in Malaysia, 73 days a year. That's more than 2 months. is lost to reduced productivity because of bad health or illness. Now, in our case, it's 40 days lost. That is significantly below the benchmark. The next is engagement. When health goes up, engagement in work goes up because you feel so much better. So how you measure that is by the percentage of employees who have low engagement. The country benchmark is 15.7. The top 5 organizations in the entire country were 13.1. Our company was at 6.6 low engagement. That's incredibly good. And in all of these other categories, from the percentage of people not eating a healthy diet to the percentage of people who were smokers, everything dropped. One interesting thing is that in the average company in the city, 53% of employees were sleeping less than 7 hours a night. We know 7 hours is quite necessary. And Eric, I believe in this program, you cover sleep as well.
Yep.
In our company, only 18.4% of people were sleeping less than 7 hours. Depression rates went down to about half what is the country average. Work-related stress factors were cut in half from 50% to 25%. And average income was actually higher because when people are working in the best health, they are more productive. And so what happened is that the average income in our company was significantly higher than the country average by a long shot. So all of this happens when you start bringing health practices into not just your life, but imagine bringing these ideas into the lives of your family or even your company. Now, the reason we were able to do so well is because of this man. It's because 100 of our employees out of 250 did WildFit. Right? Now, again, that is less than 50%, but you can see the overall impact it had on the health of the organization. This is why we wanted to work with Eric to bring a new program into the world, the WildFit Immunity Blueprint. And this program is focused on giving you a powerful immune system so that you can just sail through life knowing that you're protected. Eric, I'd love to ask you to give a quick idea of what this program covers.
Sure. The program is spanned over 28 days. There's a 29th day bonus video that kind of wraps everything up and prepares people for life beyond the program. But in the first 28 days, we use incremental adjustments on each of the areas that we need to work on. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is avoiding things that trigger the immune system. So there are behaviors, there are things that we eat, there are things that we do that are constantly kind of needling at our immune system, which kind of annoy it. So we want to work on eliminating those things from our lives. But then equally, there are also certain things that can suppress immune function, which is different than triggering it. They actually push it down. So there are many chronic diseases and medications, again, that can suppress immune function. So we want to try and eliminate those from our lives. Once we've handled those two things, now it becomes a matter of strengthening it. So we're first working on let's stop weakening it, and then let's work on how do we strengthen it. And the way we do that is very much like this. We look at the physical body and we've determined that there are very specific needs. Now, some of these things aren't a mystery. We all know that we need to breathe. We all know that we need to drink. We all know that we need to eat. But sometimes we don't know exactly what we should be breathing and how we should be breathing and what we should be drinking and what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be. And so through the program, we learn about each of these areas, but not like all on day one and then do this for 28 days. We learn about it in an incremental way so that you are constantly making progress, constantly learning something new and establishing new habits, new automatic behaviors so that it won't be difficult for you. It's not about you having to use a bunch of willpower and remember a bunch of stuff. Look, if you've done any of my programs, you'll know something, and that's this. Many teachers in the world believe that it is the student's responsibility to learn. I don't. I really believe that it's the teacher's responsibility to teach. It's my responsibility as the guide to make sure that you have the best possible experience. This program is designed so that you have that. So you're going to watch short videos every day that are going to guide you through specific educational points so that you understand something more holistically. For example, I'll bet you knew you had to breathe. Did you know that? You knew about that, right? But did you really understand the role that breathing plays with your stress system? That you breathing deeply can actually support a stronger immune response? We want to introduce you to the other paradigms, the other sides of all these things so you understand them holistically. Then every single day, there are specific action steps you take, and they're small, but they're incremental. And then they create compounding results. So by the end of the 28 days, you've learned a whole lot and you've changed a whole lot, and you'll keep the changes out into the future.
Now, all our programs in Mindvalley are designed to deliver specific transformational outcomes. And this particular program is designed to deliver 8 outcomes into your life. I want to quickly explain what these outcomes are. These are shifts in your abilities as a human being that make you better and better in every way, every single day as you go through this program. And these changes will last. Now, the first outcome that we'll be delivering to you is improving your immunity. That's the obvious one. Everyone gets that. By now, you know what an improved immunity means, but there's more. The second outcome is improving your overall health. And Eric, how would you describe this overall health improvement? What does this look like to someone in the world?
Well, I think right now we're dealing with a world where even people who think of themselves as fairly healthy are often taking prescription medications and over-the-counter drugs because they're dealing with stuff. Like, I was healthy as a kid, I thought. I had lots of allergies and I had horrible acne problems and I had stomach problems, but so did everybody. So therefore I was healthy. And so for many people to really achieve sort of optimal health is actually novel. Suddenly they're like, oh, I'm not in pain. I don't have inflammation. My eyes aren't itchy all the time. I'm not tired at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so for a lot of people, attaining that level of health is something that is new to them because they're living with a baseline level of suffering that they're not even aware of.
Mm-hmm. Now, and many illnesses that you have that you take for granted suddenly go away when you increase your immunity. Eric, in your program, correct me if I'm wrong, but you talk about vitamin D as a supplement, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I learned that from you. I learned about vitamin D. And it's only now that Anthony Fauci is actually mentioning vitamin D.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. So here's what happened. My son developed a skin condition, which is very common among kids 3 to 16. It's called pityriasis alba. And it affects kids, and what happens is you get these white blotches on your skin. We thought it was a fungus, but I took him to a dermatologist. The dermatologist, after looking at it through a microscope, confirmed that it's pityriasis alba. And they don't really know what causes this, and so the dermatologist prescribed to me a number of different soaps that he has to use, skin creams that he has to put on, and that dermatologist said, there's no guarantee that this will disappear, but it'll most likely go away when he gets older. But because I'd learned from you and I knew the importance of vitamin D, I just did my own research online. And this is what I found. Roughly 87% of kids who have 5 or more spots of pityriasis alba also have a vitamin D deficiency. The dermatologist never even spoke about that, but I knew that I had to get vitamin D supplements for my son. Now, I would never have understood that if it wasn't for your teachings. And this is where I love what you do, because you open us up to all of these different things. Now, this is interesting, right? A vitamin D deficiency, and you're going to learn about vitamin D in this program, could affect so many other aspects of your body. So it's not just immunity. Skin problems might disappear. I mentioned earlier how my hair started growing back. I had a bald spot emerging here. It's no longer there. It started disappearing when I got on WildFit. And so as we transform our habits, it's not just resistance to cold. It is overall health. You just start feeling and looking younger, and your life improves in so many different ways. That's just the second outcome. Now there's a third. The third is faster recovery. This means bouncing back faster from injury. Fourth is related. It's healing from illness. Eric, how would you explain healing from illness?
Well, years and years ago, there was a story about a doctor who, during a big drug shortage, had decided that he couldn't prescribe all the drugs that he could get for people. So he started issuing placebos to half of his patients, and he documented the whole thing. He was basically turned it into an experiment. And what he found is that now he had some patients that were on the traditional prescription medication, and he had some patients that were on placebo. And he found that the healing time was just about the same.
Wow.
That the drug was often slowing the healing time down because it was so focused on only dealing with the symptom that it had nothing to do with helping the body to heal. Now, what I've noticed is that in my life, you might have some bug make its way around the community, and all of a sudden everybody's got a fever over here and everybody's got this over there. And what often happens in my case is that if it even hits me, it hits me for a day, but it hits other people for a week or 2 weeks.
Right.
And so what I'm suggesting is, and again, it's that difference between immunity and a robust immune system. There are many things we can never have immunity for. You can't have immunity for being hit. You can't have immunity for an injury, but you need to have an immune system that defends against it. So whether you're healing from an injury or recovering from an infection or recovering from a disease, you want an immune system that can support you to recover more quickly.
Amazing. So you recover much faster. And the fifth outcome is very related to that, inner peace. right? So literally, this program delivers in a piece. You remember the box breathing? Not only does it improve your immunity, it actually gets rid of stress. It actually helps you overcome fear, anxiety, anger. That's in a piece. This program helps you become a more peaceful person on the inside.
This is so important too, because I'll tell you, especially what happened during the pandemic, but even before that, if somebody works at an office and a few people start dropping from the flu, people start feeling stressed because they're afraid they're going to get it. And I'll tell you what, the first time you go through flu season and you didn't get it, the first time you watch everybody else get it and you don't, the weirdest thing is you stop experiencing that stress. It's that you start going, I feel robust, I feel good. Now that doesn't mean you'll never get it, but oddly, isn't it weird?
Right.
You see people getting sick, you start getting stressed, you suppress your immune system, and then you're sick.
Right.
And so that inner peace thing is also about, not only is it about having good energy, but it's also about feeling strong.
Now, the next item is deeper sleep. Eric?
Well, sleep is fundamental. I can't believe that it's so rarely discussed in good terms. When people talk about losing weight, one of the things they need to do is have sleep. If people want to talk about better cognition, they need to sleep. If people want to have better sex life, they need to sleep. Like, sleep is incredibly important. And so one of the things that we talk about in this program is specific strategies for improving sleep and creating deeper sleep, environmental issues and habits that can support people in sleeping better. Remember, when you sleep, that's when your body does repair. I mean, that is the repair hour. When you go into deep sleep and your body's not moving, and then your body goes in and does all the repair, repairing from disease, repairing from injury, assimilating your thoughts, getting your memories organized. So sleep is a very, very important part of this program, and we're going to give people very practical steps on how to sleep better, and sleep more efficiently, and sleep deeper.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, the next two results or outcomes that this program delivers is really interesting. It's improving longevity. Now, that's interesting, right? As you boost your immunity, as you go to this program, you will be adding years to your life. Eric?
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. A lot of people feel like age is just genetically determined, like you're just going to get to the age that you were born with. It was predetermined. We now know that that's absolutely not true. We have the ability to affect that a great deal. And what's really come up during the 2020 pandemic era was this issue of comorbidities and the danger that other diseases are providing. And so focusing on self-care can extend our lifespans in two different ways. One, we know that your biological age and your chronological age can differ by up to 10 years. So your lifestyle has an impact on how you're aging. But then also, as we've seen going through pandemic, if there's a virus or there's a threat, having a strong immune system can literally buy you defense against that. So in two very specific ways, you're buying longevity by focusing on self-care.
So that's a very interesting thing. Your biological age and your chronological age can differ by about 10 years. That's what medical science now says. This means two people can be 50 years old chronologically. That means this year they're celebrating their 50th birthday. They were born in 1970. This year is their 50th birthday. But one could have the body of a 40-year-old and the health of a 40-year-old rather than a 50-year-old. Conversely, the other one could have the body and the health of a 60-year-old. There can be a 10-year difference between your chronological age and your actual biological age, and it all has to do with how you take care of your health. And this program delivers longevity. It will make you live longer. And this brings us to the final point. As you live longer, you also feel and look younger. That is a really key point. When you take care of your immunity, when you're getting better sleep, when you understand the whole science of being in radiant health, you look and feel younger. And who doesn't want that? So all of these are shifts that are going to happen in your life, step by step, nuance by nuance, over 4 weeks, as when you enroll in this program and you go through this transformation.
Yes, Vishen, you're absolutely right. This idea of longevity and also appearance, looking younger, has been proven out in tons of twin studies where twins have been separated, live different lifestyles, where they've had the exact same genetic makeup, and one looks 10 years older than the other one. One is 10 years older than the other one in terms of their biological age. So we absolutely can work to help people extend their health, extend their life, and look younger.
So the question is yours. At this point, you can take everything you've learned right now, the box breathing exercise, the concept of movement, and that's great. You can bring it into your life and your health is going to transform. But you can also go deeper. What if Eric can basically coach you for the next 4 weeks, completely change the habits that actually might be causing you to age faster than you deserve, the habits that are actually ruining your body, and install good habits, and think about what that's going to mean. Don't say no to that. This could be one of the most important decisions you make in your life, because literally you're making a decision about life, about living, about health, about being radiantly alive. This is one of the most important decisions, and I urge you to enroll in this program.
Now, I want you to understand one thing about our Mindvalley programs. You don't have to make up your mind right now. You can enroll in this program, test it out, and anytime in the next 15 days, with one click, cancel your purchase and get a full unconditional refund. All you have to do is click on your account page on the Mindvalley platform, click on the refund button, and that's it. You are never obligated to buy a program. You can test it out. You can see the video. You can even go through practically half the program because you can give yourself a refund in 15 days with one click. So you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Now, if you are buying a house or buying a car, you would obviously test drive things, right? I encourage you to do the same here. Scroll down below, click enroll so you can take advantage of the enrollment discount. Explore the program as much as you want in the next 15 days. Cancel and get your refund. You can apply your refund to another Mindvalley program, or you can just keep it. All the information is on mindvalley.com/refund.
But if you're watching this as a masterclass, as a thank you for the last hour or so you spent with us, we're going to give you a special enrollment discount on this page. Do not close this page because that'll end the discount. Just go below, click enroll. Now, what's going to happen is that the class starts on a specific day. Before the class starts, they have warm-up videos. And we're going to have all our students start together, work with each other. So there's a community, a rich, robust community of students supporting students. You are never alone. And then we're going to cross the finishing line together. The average American spends roughly $3,000 to $4,000 a year on their health. And mainly this is doctor visits, little checkups and so on, $3,000 to $4,000. Over a decade, that is a lot of money. That's anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000. That's the average. Now, when you take care of your health, you're going to see those medical bills go down. That's what I noticed. I didn't have to rush to a pharmacist or rush to my ear, nose, and throat doctor every time I got the sniffles. So you end up saving in a big way. But there's another benefit. What you find is that when you're in radiant health, you can deliver so much more to the world. So think about how your career is going to grow. Think about how your income grows. If you're an entrepreneur, think about how you can take that extra peace of mind, that extra energy, and put it into your business and see whatever you're creating expand. This is definitely, most likely, one of the best investments you can ever make in yourself. All for just a couple of $100. Now, the reason we make our program so affordable is simply economies of scale. Several years ago, a program like this on Mindvalley with this level of technology, of community, of facilitation, of teacher like Eric would have been around $1,000 to $2,000. But as we have grown as a company, developed some 15 million fans on social media and hit close to 1 million students, we've been able to bring the prices down to something truly affordable because we want to get this out to the world and to people everywhere. And when you order on this page, you're also going to get a couple of bonuses. We noticed that in many countries especially, there's a good number of our students who might be smokers. There's going to be a special bonus by Eric to help you give up smoking. And if you're a smoker, most smokers I know want to give up smoking. They just haven't figured out how. The second thing is sleep. Many people have issues with sleep. Sleep is one of the most important things to incredible health. So there's going to be a special add-on bonus to really work on sleep and help you with your sleep issues. Eric, could you speak a little bit about these two bonuses?
Sure. The cigarettes one is a really big one because it is, many countries around the world, there's still a huge number of people in those countries that are smoking, and it messes with breathing, it messes with the immune system because every single day your immune system is fighting against what's going on. And here's the really tricky thing. They're not nearly as addictive as people think they are. And so very often we're able to help people by finding the right level of relaxation and the right information that allows them to let go of the habit easily. So I'm really excited about bringing that to people. And then in terms of sleep, I learned a lot about sleep from Michael Bruce, our good friend, but I also learned a lot about sleep from my little girl. And I learned about sleep routines. And so this particular program, this guided meditation, is designed to help people create a sleep routine that drops them into a really gorgeous deep sleep so they wake up feeling amazing every morning.
Amazing. I can't wait for these bonuses.
By the way, if you look at the pricing for this program, you will see why the vast majority choose to become a member rather than buy an individual program. Just a few $100 extra. But you don't just get one program, you get over 50 programs on Mindvalley instantly available for you. You can go through a new program every month or do 2 programs in a month and up-level yourself in 24 unique areas of life in the coming year. But that's not all. Membership also means that you get access to Mindvalley live events with so many special guests.
What's happening here?
You're on our private social network. You're in a network of fellow members, and these are such incredible individuals. And we have memberships now in every country in the world.
I also know that if you're watching right now and you're not ready to move forward just yet, then there's only 2 reasons. The one is potentially you have a little bit of a lack of faith in the program, like you're not sure that it'll work. I'm hoping that we've dealt with that. I'm hoping that all the case studies and the steps that we've given you now have shown you that it will work, because it will. So then the second reason that people hold back sometimes is a little bit of lack of faith in themselves to complete the program, because many people have started a program and not finished it. But I want you to know we're good at that. Our completion rates are absolutely excellent because we have great information, but delivered in an outstanding way. You will start and you will finish.
I know. I remember when I did WildFit, it was day 66. Day 66. I was in my car driving to work, listening to you, and I was thinking, what is up with this? It's 66 days, and I've been listening to this guy every single day, and I never broke the habit. It's because of the psychology, the habit, and behavior design you bring into the way you teach.
Yeah, and in this case, I only have to hold them and get them to finish 28 days. They're going to get it done.
Right. It's remarkable. So definitely do this. Now, there may be a couple of other questions that people may have. Let's address that. Now, first question is, how would you address this, Eric? People who are thinking, well, I don't know if I'm going to have time for this.
The time commitment is, first of all, very low. And secondly, what could be more important? When people tell me they don't have time for their health,
they don't have time for living. They don't have time for being alive.
I get a little emotional, but we really have carved this out every single day. It's a very short video and a tiny little bit of work to do. It's really, really manageable. That's part of the secret that makes it completable.
Right.
So it's not a heavy commitment at all. For the amount of effort somebody has to put in, for the level of reward they can get, it's absolutely a no-brainer.
Right. It's amazing how people spend so many hours doing stuff that actually has been scientifically proven to not make much of a dent in your health. I'm going to say some things that might trigger some people, but many people go to the gym and do exercises that actually serve no benefit. Jogging has been called by some doctors, like Doug McGuff, who wrote the book Body by Science, anti-exercise, a waste of time and actually bad for your bones. But people forget that what they're about to learn from you is actually the most relevant things you can do for your health. It is true health improvement. And that's why this is so important. And like you said, what could be more important than being in radiant health? That should be everyone's goal.
I'm amazed that there are people who take better care of their cars than they do their bodies.
I know, it's
nuts. And here we are. And when they finally realize that was a mistake? When they realize they can't trade in this body. There's this moment. And by the way, once they get to that point, they'll pay anything.
Yeah.
They'll pay anything to get it back. But then it's too late. Yeah. Now is the time to get that stuff right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now the second question is, I'm too old, I'm too sick. I don't know if this can help me. I've tried everything else.
That's a really good question. Some people do give up. Early on when I started doing this work, I had one of my clients contact me and she says, I've taken everything you taught me and I've taught it to this woman. I'm like, what do you mean you're teaching my stuff? We didn't have a coach training program or anything. And she goes, well, it was my mom. And she's been sitting on the couch waiting for her life to end. She was too old to turn it around. And then she taught her all the stuff that we taught her. She gave it to her mother. And now her mother was running for local city council. She was in the bowling league. Her entire life was better than it was before. And so I don't think there's ever a too late. In fact, if you look at the Mindvalley Stories page and you look at the feedback on our Facebook page, you will see people 81 years old, 79 years old, 77 years old saying, I'm back.
Right.
So there's no too late.
And that's an important point. People may not be aware of this, but as you start taking care of your health, 2 other things change. Cognition goes up. Your brain is actually performing better. For example, you talk a lot about sleep in this program. Studies show that if you deprive yourself of 90 minutes of sleep, right, you lose 1/3 your thinking ability, 1/3 your cognition. You're showing up to work with 1/3 of your brain shut down. But when you reverse that, you are thinking so much more fluidly. Now, the second thing is that your emotional states change.
Yeah.
You are in more joyful, blissful states. So you're actually doing more in life in a happier way. And that explains what happened to this woman's mother. And this is likely going to happen to you as well when you take care of your health in this way.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, I was talking about that very thing about like you rob yourself of that sleep and then your cognition goes down, and this guy says, well, I've never noticed that. And I go, yeah, but that's because you're no longer smart enough to even notice you're not that smart anymore. And I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not.
Yeah.
Because that is what happens to people, is that their health degrades slowly, incrementally, and they don't even notice it.
You don't notice, right.
And it isn't until the pain is gone that you're like, oh my God, I've been living with this for years.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this program. Cannot wait to see you in the Immunity Blueprint. Thank you, Eric, for delivering this incredible content.
Thanks for making it available to so many people around the world.
So if you gained value from what you learned today, scroll down, click enroll, and take that first step towards radiant health for the rest of your life.